My name is Saladin Ambar. I teach American politics at Lehigh University. The book I've written, How Governors Built the Modern American Presidency, focuses on the role governors played in shaping modern executive behavior. Before the progressive era, we lived in essentially a legislative republic. Today, however, since that time, we've come to live in an executive republic, a presidential republic. The ironic thing is that governors, not presidents really, were the ones that shaped the way modern executive behavior came to form. And so the book's discovery, if you will, is rooted in the fact that state executives transform the way we think about how presidents should act. Some of the people that have affected modern presidential power are sort of familiar. Former governors, Woodrow Wilson, Teddy Roosevelt, FDR. Others are maybe a little less familiar. Grover Cleveland, former governor of California, Hiram Johnson, former governor of Wisconsin, Robert M. La Follette. These were individuals whose state practices were, on one hand, brought with them to the White House when they became president. But some of them never became president. Johnson, La Follette were just individuals who were in state houses who just shaped the way modern executive behavior was understood. I think the question about now, in terms of why governors have become preeminent once again, has to do with the fact that outsiders have typically been what's been coveted in periods when Americans and voters want change. Take Mitt Romney, for example. He's running as someone who is not just a businessman, but with executive experience outside of Washington. And that goes all the way back to when Samuel Tilden and Rutherford B. Hayes ran for the White House, the first time two governors ever opposed one another back in 1876. Romney's hoping to capitalize on that very same disposition, the notion that he can come into Washington and clean it up. Well, I think there's a lot to chew on in terms of what's going on in the primaries and in fact, Romney's status and stature within the party, as disappointing as it may be in some circles. If you look at what Romney has, he has, yes, lots of party leadership. He's got lots of financial backing and so forth, but he also has a resume that suggests that he can position himself successfully as a Washington outsider, someone that has that gubernatorial background that has been so coveted by voters. And in fact, there really hasn't been anyone but a governor to defeat a sitting president since 1888. That's a long time to go, hoping that a senator or a former cabinet officer or someone like Newt Gingrich, a Speaker of the House, can somehow take down someone in the position of Barack Obama, who's a president with difficulties, but they're very difficult to beat. And governors have proven to be the only kind of individual in the last 100+ years to do so. I think the appeal of legislators in the 19th century was reflective of the fact that we had a legislative, democratic, small d democratic kind of theory that we all accepted as Americans. We liked the deliberative process. We liked the sort of Greek model of democracy in the 19th century. But in the 20th century, we became disaffected by what we saw taking place in legislatures around the country and certainly in Congress. And so we reached for executives and presidents to transform government. Today, democracy is seen by the public as messy. The legislative process is akin to watching sausage being made. It's something you may want to eat, but you don't want to know the process. Whereas the president has the symbolic and heroic presence that Americans have come to love. Democracy involves compromise. It involves sometimes going along to get along. These things are all essential, but no one wants to be seen as giving up their core values to move a piece of legislation along. And this has been the problem with someone like a Rick Santorum, for example, who is being tarred with the label of being of Washington. One of the things that benefits someone like Mitt Romney is that he doesn't have a record in Washington to defend. He has to defend a Massachusetts record, and there's some challenges there. But imagine if Romney had to defend the various kinds of votes that Gingrich and Santorum have had to defend. It is really the only policy-oriented positive he has to be able to say that I was not part of the deal cutting that went on in the Clinton era or the deal cutting that went on in recent years. I did not blow up the budget as Santorum has been accused of and lead the nation into this massive deficit situation. So Romney can, from a distance, sort of cover his tracks or attempt to cover his tracks in ways that senators cannot or congressmen cannot, because those votes are very public. And we all know how they voted. And governors have always been able to mask that kind of mess, if you will, from behind the scenes. And so that's what Romney's playing on. He has his difficulties, but being a governor just minimizes them. I think we're pretty far removed from tamping down executive power. I think we still have a real disdain for the democratic process in America. Congress's approval ratings are at an all-time low, and that's saying something because, the Congress of the United States has long been in disregard by the American public, always falling behind the Supreme Court and the presidency in public opinion polls in terms of which branch of government do you most respect. And I think that says a good deal about not only where we are, but where we've been, and I think where we're heading. If anything, whether you're on the left or the right, your criticism of Obama is that he doesn't know how to use executive power. The right criticizes him for it, for lacking leadership. The left criticizes him for it. And so I think at the end of the day, for better or for worse, and this is something the American people have to really, I think, consider, we're sort of stuck with the expectation that presidents will have undue influence in our democracy.